A couple of things. First of all, a preemptive Happy New Year to everybody. Thanks for being here and covering us. And as I think has always been in my and our minds, hope you and your families are safe. But obviously, for the past couple of years, it's been even more present. Where's Joe? I also want to. There we go. Your last bowl game. Congratulations.
Thank you,
We appreciate you and appreciate everything you've always done.
Thank you.
And following on that, really appreciate the role that you all play. Our alumni, our fans, our community are such an important part of who we are and what we do, and you all play a really important role in connecting us with them. So I want to say thanks there. This is my 15th bowl as an athletic director in my 21 years, and I know that the bowl system there's been a lot of talk about it, and I just want to say that the bowls are a really unique part of college football, college athletics, and sport in general. They mean a ton to our student athletes, to our community, to our coaches, to our football program, and we're thrilled to be here in Tampa, and want to thank the Outback Bowl, thank the community, thank Jim McVeigh as the executive director, and our guys have been having a great time, and obviously looking forward to a great bowl game against Arkansas. So, with that,
questions for Sandy?
Sandy, why was it so important to you and the administration to give James a 10-year contract?
Yeah, I think obviously there's a lot going on in the college football environment. James is now completing his 8th season. Obviously, as we kind of entered into those conversations, he was in his 8th, hadn't completed it. But if you look at the body of work, you look at what we've seen from James as it relates to who he is, what his values are, what his fit is for us, how he's developed student athletes, and then, oh, by the way, we've also won a lot of football games. As you really dig into it, that 16, 17, 18, 19, 4-year period was as good as we've been in about 35 or 40 years. So I think his body of work really spoke to me and spoke to the leadership of campus. And we wanted to send a signal to him, and we wanted to send a signal to everybody else how much he's appreciated, and that you've heard it from me. I mean, he's our guy. Penn State's a place where we feel very comfortable with leadership over long, sustained periods of time. Certainly as a follower and a student of leadership, sustained, consistent leadership when you've got a good one is really, really positive, and I think Penn State has historically benefited from that.
What kind of feedback, Sandy, have you gotten since then? Not just about James's contract, but the trend in college sports with the kind of money that it takes.
Well, I think it's all over the board. It also depends. Are you talking about at Penn State? Or are you talking about nationally? Because I think those things.
Your people.
And my people. How about our people, right? Yeah, from our people, it's been really positive. Because again, I think our people understand, see, and appreciate everything that James brings to us. And it's all those things I talked about. It's not just the wins, although again, the wins have been pretty darn good.
How would you term the tenor of the negotiations? It appeared for a while like James was, kind of uncertain about certain things. How would you characterize that?
I would not ever characterize James as uncertain about anything. No. So the conversations were really good. And I'll be honest, and I think this comes as no surprise, they were mostly about the program and how we together saw the program and saw the investment in the program. So I thought it was really outstanding.
Sandy, what tangible, specific things have changed as a result of that conversation? James said when the deal was signed, 9 weeks ago, Penn State came to me and we talked about facilities,
Yeah, to be honest with you, it's all things that we've talked about over the course of the last 7 years, and either checked off the list or that we need to continue to work on. I don't think there was anything that was a surprise to either of us, and it was just about what's the plan. How do we make sure that we're properly that we're investing in a way that is going to result in the success and the development of student athletes that we all want.
Sandy, how aligned is your vision for the program along with James? And then you have a new president. I mean, that's a unique dynamic. So between everybody there, how aligned is everybody with the future?
First of all, I don't know that a new president is a unique dynamic.
Well, no, I mean in terms of the contract for a new or the contract extension and that sort of thing.
I think, and James talks about it all the time, and I agree with him that that's very important. But James and I are absolutely aligned. We see success and we see the investments for success very similarly, as does Dr. Barrett. And we've enjoyed that for 7 years. We're now going to have a new president, and I've had some conversations there, and I expect to continue to have 100% alignment.
Specifically, what are some of these things? Because I mean, there was talk of an indoor facility back with the facility master plan. We've seen the weight room renovations. Like, what are some of these things that James is passionate about, that he wants?
Yeah, James is passionate about investing in the program, some of its facilities, and those are all things that we've heard. The second indoor facility is really about being able to accommodate all of our programs. But you all are as familiar with the needs in Lash as I am, as obviously James is, and let's face it, we're in the middle of the biggest piece. We're under construction. You all can see it. We're under construction for the biggest piece of the Lash improvements, which includes most prominently the weight room. But it's also little things. It's also things that aren't don't directly speak to on-field success, but speak to that student development piece, academic support. We've always been good there. We need to continue to make sure we examine it, and do we have everything we need to put in place for today's student athlete.
Is housing part of that for student athletes?
Housing has been something we've kept our eye on for a long time, and as a university, obviously athletics doesn't manage or run housing. The university has made some really good improvements there, but all of this, we're never done. All of this we need to continue to monitor and make sure that we're investing in the proper way.
Sandy, James has talked repeatedly about the necessity to be able to react quickly to the coaching market when someone becomes available and be able to present them with a realistic contract. Seems like that happened with Manny Diaz a couple weeks ago. Is that an area of this program that you feel like under Franklin and with your leadership has made strides?
Yeah, I think we addressed that probably 4 or 5 years ago, and put in place a way for us to have resources to make sure that we could react. So I don't think that's been a particular issue in quite a while.
Where does your assistant coach salary pool rank within the conference? Because obviously you guys don't disclose that.
Yeah, right towards the top, if not at the top.
Sandy, after a 7-5 season, we're sitting here in the Outback Bowl. What does it say about the brand of Penn State?
I think it says a lot that the brand is really strong. Penn State's playing in the New Year's Day Bowl. It says a lot about our community, our alumni. There's no doubt the Florida Bowls covet having the opportunity to have a Penn State team because of, number one, the way we travel, but number two, the volume of Penn Staters that are here that are going to flock to. In this case, you're going to see a lot of Penn Staters on Saturday at the Outback Bowl. So I think it does speak very directly to the strength of the brand, and that is a tribute to our community. It's a tribute to the leadership on our campus, and it's a tribute specifically as it relates to football to James and his leadership and what we've done with our student athletes both on and off the field.
Sandy, is there a path that the Bowls have to take now? Because it seems like unless your team's in the college football playoff, more and more players are opting out of some of these bowl games.
Yeah, I think it begs examination as to what role the bowl games play overall. And certainly I would, to your point, I would say there's the category of the CFP playoff, which obviously we're looking at expanding, and then the other bowls. And I think the answer might be a little bit different, but I do think that the bowl system in general needs to look at student athletes, where they are today, what their motivations are, what's important to them, and what answers that the bowl system might have today.
Sandy, what is your stance on the college football playoff expansion talks, and is there a number that you think makes sense, or maybe a minimum, maximum type of tournament?
Yeah, I definitely in favor of expansion. I am. Penn State is. James is. I think the number depends on some of the particulars around it, how you get to that number. I think player health and safety needs to be at the forefront of examining what an expanded season, essentially, that's what you're doing, what that would look like for the players in terms of health and safety. And then I think you have to look at some of the logistics. Obviously, as a Big Ten conference, we have great history and tradition with the Rose Bowl. So what's the Rose Bowl's place in all of that would certainly be important to the Big Ten. And yeah, but definitely to the basic question, in favor of it. The devil's always in the details.
Sandy, how do you feel like 6 months into name, image, and likeness Penn State is doing on that front, and what, if any, areas can you guys improve in?
I think we've done very well because of where we focus from an educational standpoint. I think our student athletes who are engaging with us, engaging with NIL, which at this point is somewhere between a quarter and a third. Now I think that will grow over time. I think those that are participating, that are engaging, are actually doing very well. That will evolve. I think where we need to continue to evolve is to really educate our alumni, educate our base on what it is, what it's not, and how important it is to the process, whether it's the process of current student athletes and their both educational and financial benefit, but also obviously to recruit. So I'm very pleased with how it's gone. I think the student athletes who have participated have really gained a lot of experience, knowledge, education, and oh, by the way, yeah, put some money in their pockets as well. But we've got a long way to go. We definitely need, from an environment standpoint, we definitely need all institutions, all states to be under one rule or one guidance, and I'm not sure exactly how that's going to happen, but I do know that there's going to be a push there.
Sandy, have you given, or can you share with us what you're thinking about your future after your contract expires? Are you planning? Do you hope to stay here past that? Do you know yet?
So obviously those will be conversations that our new president and I will have. I've got a year and a half left. That was by design in the conversations that Dr. Barron and I had, I don't know, 3 years ago, or whatever it was, that there would be, I would have some time after new president. And, certainly from my perspective, I love Penn State. I love what I'm doing. As long as my health is good and I'm having fun, that's, I certainly see that in my future. And then obviously, Penn State and Dr. Bindaputi will make their decision as well.
Sandy, do you see NIL being a player in kind of leveling the landscape between the CFP and those other bowl games, the dynamic between those two?
It could, but it also could go the other way. The CFP playoffs are going to have more resources than a majority of the rest of the bowl system, and so that it could end up making it having that divide even wider. But I also could see it helping to close the gap. It just depends on where we go with it.
Sandy, from an economic standpoint, for the community, for the university, what did a return to a full capacity Beaver Stadium mean in this past year?
Yeah, it meant a lot. I mean, obviously, you all are well aware of kind of the losses that we took in FY21, so 2021. So the return to football season tickets, which our sales were outstanding, and I think maybe an all-time record in terms of revenue for ticket sales. We set a student record for sales for Micah Shrewsbury and men's basketball. I mean that's a big chunk. It's not the largest, but it's a big chunk of our revenues to run 31 programs. So it was, needless to say, it was pretty important.
Sandy, regarding health and safety, the COVID variant keeps throwing curveballs at us. What concerns do you have about possibly having to go back to the old ways? What are your stance on all this?
Well, I mean, the biggest thing is health and safety come first. And that's where we started in March of 20. And certainly then, I mean, think of all the tools we have now that we did not have in March of 20. Think of all the things that we know now. Now, absolutely. I mean, I think the United States set a COVID infection record yesterday. And that's worrisome. Absolutely. But if you think about all the tools that we have now that we didn't have then, with vaccine probably being at the absolute top of the list, and certainly encourage all of our community to get vaccinated, and certainly as you gather on Saturday to whether you gather here in Tampa or you gather at watch parties at home or other places, please do so safely and using all these tools that we now know that we have. But we've got great resources at the university in terms of our faculty. Penn State Health, collaborative efforts with Mount Nittany, and we're following what our experts tell us to do is most prudent and is best practice. And I will say that we've had a lot of success. Doesn't mean we haven't had any infections, because of course we have. But we've been really good. That's a great testament to leadership from our coaches and from campus, and we'll continue to do that. And I'm not going to tell you I'm not worried. I worry about it all the time. But I think we're in a good place to really just kind of stay consistent and strong about what we're doing, follow the science, make sure number one priority student athletes and staff and campus, and then obviously by extension our community, and I think we'll be in a good place.
Sandy, as the chair of the Football Oversight Committee, what are a few of
I knew somebody would get to that.
What are a few of the items you have at the top of the agenda for that group as we head into 2022? What are some of the biggest obstacles?
Well, as we head out of 2021, I've been fielding phone calls about who's making the decisions about what schools go where as bowls have slots. And just to say this, the only role that the Football Oversight Committee had in that was to determine how those were going to be selected by the bowls. And I will say this, it was quite clear that the decision was to be that we would go by the 5 and 7 APR list. And I think some of the confusion there was because the NCAA did not publish APR over the course of the last couple of years. Nobody knew who was on that list and where they were. And there was also some confusion because a year ago we were in a much different situation. And the bowls had a little bit more say. But when we sat down with the NCAA staff and really looked through everything that had been done, a statement that the committee had made on December 3rd, it was very clear that we needed to go by the 5 and 7. The 5 and 7 list. But I will say, in terms of priorities, I think there really are two, and they're pretty big umbrella. Well, they're really three. Big umbrella-ish. Player health and safety, which really have to do with playing and practice season, amount of contact, and I think we need to make sure that we don't jump the gun without data about things that we've already done or have already been done to practices, and make sure we understand the things that we've already done, what has been the impact. So health and safety, playing and practice season, and then the recruiting model. The FOC is not going to be the decision maker, although I've read in the media that I am the decision maker, but around the early signing date, we'll weigh in on what we think about that. But the signing dates are all managed by the Collegiate Commissioners Association, CCA. So they'll be the final arbiter, if you will, there. But that'll come into the recruiting conversation.
Sandy, there are some cities that have or are in the process of mandating mandatory vaccinations for indoor sporting events. Is that something Penn State is considering, will consider in moving forward?
Yeah, certainly it's on the list of tools, if you will. It's not something that we're considering at this point. We feel like things have been well managed to now, but again, we have to continue to monitor it and see where things are going and do what we think is prudent to help protect our spectators, our community, etc.
Time for two more.
The NCAA reacting to COVID by creating the bonus eligibility. Just here in the football program, Sean Clifford, Jonathan Sutherland, 6-year seniors next year.
I'm loving it right now.
I'm not sure what it looks like across all the Penn State programs, but how much is there a confusion right now between compliance, leadership, coaches on how to maintain scholarship numbers while this bonus eligibility is in existence?
Yeah, I don't think there's any confusion. Number one, our coaches are really smart. Number two, our compliance people are really good. And number three, our students are pretty smart too. So I actually think there's not a lot of confusion. Doesn't mean it's easy to manage because what time frame are these decisions made? What are the conversations between student athletes and coaches? And it is a difficult task for our coaches to manage their rosters because you add into that the transfer portal. And kind of the freedom of movement, and it's a complicated puzzle for our coaches.
Last one.
Sandy, the university plans to announce today if they're going to go online for the first 2 weeks of the spring semester. How would that affect everything that's going on with the renovations in the football program and off season, but also the sports that are in season right now?
I could tell you, but I'd have to kill you. Actually, I jumped off the call before we had a final answer. Yeah, it will have no impact on the renovations. I mean, our construction is moving forward, and it will certainly have no impact from the standpoint of training and competition on our in-season sports. Most of them have already returned to campus, and we'll continue that. I doubt it would have any impact on our spring, on our other sports, because we're training and we're either training or competing year round, and we need to be on campus and we need to be together to do that. As we were, athletics was kind of the first cohort to return in May and June of 2020 from a campus standpoint.
Thank you very much, Sandy.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Early Happy New Year.
Thanks for the shout out.